Ethan Hurley, this is Jim Tucker. We're, two of the owners of the property, Spokefield Road. There's 6 members that are, co-owners of this property. Our plans are to, of the 6 members, to build 6 homes. It's 170 acres, and, kind of carve out plots, 6 individual plots, and put homes. So that's kind of the overall plan. We did present a preliminary plan to the planning board, and it looks like that they are I guess are okay with our plans at this point, and there's no exceptions at this point. So we're looks like we're in line with the requirements and the ordinances for the town. So all good, but they did suggest that we come talk to you folks to talk about essentially the road. So what we're gonna, the interior road, and then the existing town road that kind of leads up to the property. The development is all class 5, and then roads, and then there's a section of class 6 road that leads up to our property and then an adjacent property. And so so what we're gonna be doing is our development is going to be off of that class 6, that existing town class 6 road. That's how we understand it. So this is Phil from Headwaters Consulting. He's our civil engineer. So he can give you, if you guys are okay with that, give a little overview of what we're looking at.
Let's see. This is better than my usual brought, so I'll use yours. So again, I'm Phil Bollier from Headwaters Consulting.
Can you move that back just a little bit so public can see?
Sure. Does that work for everybody? As Jason pointed out, we've been to the planning board just for a non-binding conceptual meeting, and they came out from that meeting with a couple of recommendations. One was to speak to the fire chief and get his kind of opinion on the proposed development. The other was to speak to the road agent, which, as I understand, you now have a new road agent. I do have a message into him, but I haven't heard anything back yet. We have heard from the fire chief, who reviewed the proposed plans and came up with a couple of recommendations in an email. It sounded like he was accepting of what we were trying to accomplish, but just had a couple of recommendations, mostly to do with the fire pond and how that would be designed. And then the third recommendation from the planning board was to come to a select board meeting, present the project, and then discuss kind of the intricacies of the development off of a class 6 road, as Jason pointed out, as well as making sure that the select board was going to be in agreement on issuing building permits at some point in the future due to the town's development code. So the project, as hopefully probably everybody's aware, comes off of Spokesfield Road, which is off Ellsworth Hill Road, about a mile outside of town, on the other side of the river. This plan over here is an overall view of the entire property. So just suffice to say, the yellow is the entire property. The red is the portion of the property that's being developed. So overall, the project parcel is pretty large, with the proposed development only encompassing about 20 to 25 acres. This plan here is a more detailed view of just this area in red. So down here on the bottom of the page is Spokesfield Road, which comes up to the old farm. There's 2 farmhouses. Right now there's only one, right?
Right.
One was torn down recently. So it comes up here to the 2 farmhouses. The proposed road is going to come off of Spokesfield Road, kind of near the last utility pole that's up there now. And then, it's about 700 feet long to the cul-de-sac. So that was one, waiver that we need to get from the planning board, because the, subdivision rules require it to be 500 feet. So we need a waiver to allow the extra length, basically, of a couple hundred feet. The reason for that was because all the green on this plan is wetland. So basically, in order to design the project, we have to kind of thread the needle of the wetland, because DES has to issue a permit, and part of that permitting requirement is to make sure that we're avoiding and minimizing our wetland impacts. If we shorten the road, then we basically have a cul-de-sac right in the middle of this big wetland here, which would be, DES would look at that as avoidable wetland impact, so we wouldn't be able to get a permit. The six lots, you can see here that there's these gray boxes are approximate locations of the home sites. So they're not exact locations, but for now they're approximate. And again, with the intentions of trying to avoid and minimize our wetland impacts, we have several common driveways, shared driveways. Which this one right here is a driveway that actually accesses 3 home sites. So it's going to be a shared driveway with 3. This would be a shared driveway with 2. The blue area here is the proposed fire pond to meet the fire chief's requirements. And it would be a dry hydrant that would extend to the cul-de-sac in that area. The entrance of the project is approximately 400 feet from the intersection of Spring Hill Road out Spokesfield to this intersection. So it's approximately 400 feet. We understand that the town plows out about 100 feet beyond the intersection with Spring Hill Road. So town maintenance at this point looks like it ends about 300 feet short of this proposed access point. The proposed road is, to meet town requirements, was proposed at 22 feet wide, a gravel road. We were told by the planning board that it didn't, at this time, have to be paved. But if the town, if the owners were to request that the town take the road over at some later date, then it would have to be paved to meet the road standards. So at this point, it would be a gravel road, gravel surface, connected to gravel Spokesfield Road, which comes all the way down to the paved Ellsworth Road. So the lower portion of Spokesfield Road is only approximately 14 to 16 feet wide in that area. So the proposed road on the site is, to meet the town requirements, is quite a bit wider than this section of road that even the class 5 portion of road. Originally, when we went to the planning board, we were operating under the assumption that all of Spokesfield Road was a class 5 road, based on the fact that it was under the DOT inventory for class 5 roads. So the state of New Hampshire DOT keeps track, has an inventory of all state and local town roads in the state. And the reason why they do that is because they have block grant aid, which every town gets as you know, a contribution from the state to assist with paying for maintenance of those class 5 portions of road. So we assumed, because it was shown on the DOT's inventory as a class 5 road, that it was class 5, which at the planning board meeting, it was brought up that they didn't believe that it was for the full length of class 5 road. So it sounds like, in doing a little bit of research and some conversations since that time, that it appears that the end portion of Spokesfield Road was at some point in the past discontinued for maintenance by the town, which basically transferred it back to a class 6. So that's kind of how we ended up with the class 6. And now we're kind of here just trying to get some input from the board on questions, comments, and then some additional, kind of housekeeping issues that I know the Pasture Road State folks are gonna wanna kind of get hopefully answered or at least looked into, relatively soon. So.
Any comments, questions on the board?
I don't have any at this time.
In your research, were you able to discern what the date was that it no longer was maintained?
Unfortunately, no, I wasn't, but it does sound like it was decades ago, so quite some time ago.
Right?
Can you be a little more specific what you would like the town to do? I know you say, to oversee it, but can you be a little more specific what your expectations are? Were there?
Yeah.
I'll kind of like that.
So, yeah, I mean, so, this is the interior road that we're talking about, right? The town spec, and we get, that's all on our dime. We are developing the property, but we're not developers, right? We're actually just a bunch of, extended family and we're building some homes together on the common property. So this is a obviously that infrastructure cost is a big cost burden to us. And so but we understand, this is on our property, and this is us, right? That's our requirements. But this lower section is a town road. It is shared, this is our property up here, but there's another property here, and that recently changed hands, and they're actually working on that property now. They're gonna be, living there, in the near future. So I guess what we're asking is that this lower section of road, we get that it needs to be upgraded. We want it upgraded because we need a road that's sound and passable. And I'm sure you folks want the same thing, but we're hoping the town will take on some of that responsibility to either upgrade the road, two things, either upgrade the road and potentially reclass the road from 6 to 5. So it's kind of like a two-level request, can the town help us with upgrading the road and potentially taking the road over? So, at some point in the past, this road was a town-maintained road, right? Because there were folks living up there, and then those people didn't live there anymore, and you stopped maintaining it. It's understandable, but now it's changed, right? We got 2 new owners up there, they're gonna be living there, so it kinda makes sense that it goes back to a town road. It's fair, right? That's kinda how we're looking at it, right? So that, there's a whole other development down here that has gravel, dirt roads that's getting maintained by the town, and it just seems a little bit unfair if this last 300-400 feet wasn't town maintained road. Especially because it's actually a town road, We get that this is private, and that's us for forever. Maybe in the future, we'll, like Phil said, we'll petition the town and take it over, but that's another issue, So it's really just about this last section, and can the town help us, so that we can manage to go through with our project, because it's, these are big costs.
Thank you.
So legally, the town can't spend money on a class 6 project. Yeah.
Right. You're not budgeted.
And we don't, do a betterment process? On the class 6 road?
See, we can look into it with legal.
What is it?
It's a betterment process,
What's that?
possibly to look into where, it has to be approved by town meeting, that, proposed changes will be, funded by the town, but it's a loan to you, to the developers. So there would be an assessment to your properties for 10 years to pay the town back for whatever the upgrade is. Again, that would be subject to town meeting approval,
Okay.
but it's not, we can't legally just upgrade it. You know, there are public funds, it's not budgeted, a big item in that, but the big thing is that betterment of the process we might be able to,
In that process, it would stay class 6? Or no?
no,
That would
bring it
involve
up, that would finance the improvements to bring it up to a class
Class 5.
under the requirements of the town.
Okay.
So with you and your legal counsel, you can look into that betterment process and bring that forward,
So essentially, you're still paying to upgrade the road,
but it's in.
but then we take over maintenance of it.
At the end,
And it gets amortized over a period of time?
about 10 years, I think is the furthest out,
Well, it doesn't have to, you can pay it.
but you can pay it off at
You can
any
pay it.
time.
Okay.
You know, we have other betterments here in town, and we just recently, one lot decided they didn't wanna pay the annual assessment anymore, so they just paid off the future.
Now, in our policy, class 6 road policy, we can waive the distance of 200 feet. You're certain that distance is more than 200 feet from where we stop maintaining now?
Does it 200 feet go up to, is that to, like, say, where our road?
The entrance, right.
The entrance, yeah.
So that would harm it. And that existing section, the class 6 section, what was the fire chief thought on that? Did he have any?
He didn't have any comments.
He didn't.
The distance is, he's fine with, right?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that there's 2 property owners now that would work? You know, like if we went with the betterment, and so does that cost get shared between 2 property owners? How does that work?
Probably get shared, I'm not really sure.
It has in the past, when we've done this before, they all, the community, if you will, each, and during that betterment process, until it's paid, there's a lien on the property. But once you pay that, we take over maintenance of that section.
And who does the road upgrade? Is that the town? Or is that the owners?
You bring up quotes
So
from.
we get
You get
quotes,
quotes.
we share them.
You share them, we bring them to town meeting, and then, when it comes to getting hard dollars, if the town approves it, and that's when the town comes into play.
Is there any requirements for multiple, bids, or is it just whoever we?
I think it's in the process.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's
you'll-
a whole
There's a whole
We
lot.
usually have a whole written process on it to help people like you, so we'll share that with you.
Okay.
Would it be, any specifications in terms of the type of road? Would it be a continuation of what's existing on Spokesfield?
It would be, have to be brought up to current road specs, so the same as the road that you're going to build on your plan.
So gravel road, match existing development.
I
and
think
what-
it's gonna have to be paved if we take it over,
Correct.
which is kinda silly, cause it's gravel we can build.
Yeah, you have dirt, paved,
It happens.
gravel.
Yeah.
That would really have to be paved.
Yeah, that's under our rules.
What's plan B?
That's for you to figure out.
So I guess,
Can you go to zoning? Can you go to zoning exemption for the betterment?
No,
Okay.
it's not assumption.
Is betterment the only
It's
option?
the only avenue we can think of right
It's the
now.
only avenue.
May I ask a
Question?
So as far as this conversation goes, the board is basically saying that that portion of Spokesville Road does have to be upgraded in order to issue driveway permits or development permits to this development in the future.
Unless it's within the 200 feet, right? And then that would have to.
And
you'd have to
we
review
could
it.
waive that if it was within 200 feet, according to our policy.
So I just guess we do a little more homework.
And, have you talked to the new neighbor about
No.
this? Because you didn't know about the betterment.
We have talked to them and said that this is something that has to be figured out. And that's where it's been, that's where we left it.
I mean, what were their thoughts about using this road? They were just gonna use it the way it is?
I think they got there, I think they got to that point,
Okay.
yeah,
They would have liked to attend, but they couldn't.
yeah.
Okay, well, that's basically all we can do this evening.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with your project.
Okay, thanks.
So the next item on the agenda is the town administrator report and monthly financials. So we'll turn it over to you for a summary. Okay?
One of the things I wanted to bring up actually, is something I didn't have in there.
Can you speak up just a little?
One of the things I wanted to bring up actually that wasn't in the report was we met with, meaning, the road agent, I met with North Country Council, I want to say thank you to Cheryl Howard. Cause she sent me a report, that they can help with locating culverts and then putting them into the GIS mapping system, which is something we were trying to do ourselves. But it was taking quite a bit of time, and work for to do that across the town. This is actually something that's part of their job, but this is actually part of their whole purview as North Country Council. And so we met with them to find out how it works and the process. They actually, I think part of how they're paid is through like grant funds and different things like that. So the majority of it is paid through the grant funds, and then they look for a 10% match is what they look for. So they said it would usually be between $2,000 and $4,000 to help with that, and then they can give us a GIS map, which we can now use with our GIS system, which we had started last year, and do an overlay, and we'll be able to see where every culvert is. And they also put down what materials is being made out of, and they also put down whether it is poor, fair, good, or great. They let you know, it helps you figure out which culverts are in need, and helps you do better.
Recording in progress.
So it is, he's getting a plan together for me, and then once I see it, we're gonna read through it, and then I can bring it forward to the board and just give you more of an explanation and show you what everything is. But, right now, we're actually really gung-ho about it. We think it'd be a great idea, and we did see the report from Ashland that they did, and they also did one for, I think it was Gilmanton, and then they did one for, there was another one down in Guilford, so the Lakes Region ones, they're doing as well, so they all came out really nice, so I'm very excited about it. And then, moving on to here, we did have our cybersecurity training last week, everyone attended really well, it was awesome. We're meeting, the leadership team is meeting with Lakes Region tomorrow to talk about further ways that we can keep our town safe via hackers and make sure we don't have hackers and anything like that. And then Michelle and I have been working with Branch Brook Campground. That's a big one. I'm trying to get our, it's different how campgrounds are done versus regular map lot parcels. And so they came to us asking us for help so that we would align better. And so Branch Brook, Heather Pinto is wonderful, Cindy Perkins, and Michelle and I, and then Adam and Malcor from the New Hampshire DRA have all been talking and trying to come up with a better process so that we can accurately, put into Avatar and to do tax billing correctly, with the campground. So it's gonna take a little bit of time, but, we think that we'll have something down by June. We're crossing our fingers, so. Oh, and just please note that on Thursday, I'm only gonna be here for about 2 hours, and that's only for a, training on our new financial management system that Lisa and I are gonna be a part of, and we're gonna do class questions and do things like that, but the rest of the day.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the town administrator? Or any questions on the financial report that was included in your packet? Everything seems to be moving along as normal, there's no exceptions.
We,
What's that?
seal the windows.
Oh, yes. Yes, we might make that motion.
So moved, second.
The
Move to
motion
seal the
is to
minutes.
seal the minutes for,
See,
RSA 91A32C. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 We have to do aye too, right?
yes,
So we also had a non-public under RSA 91A32I.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Okay, so the next on our agenda is to continue with, committee appointments and,
no, board topics and committee updates, and then privilege of the floor.
oh, okay, I wanna do this one.
Sorry, I can't skip that things.
Okay. So, any, board topics or committee reports, Mark?
Yeah, we had a roads committee last weekend, and myself, Selectman Engel, and town administrator O'Connor attended. We had a handful of townspeople that attended the meeting with a couple of concerns. Orchard Street, which we told we would, we took the suggestions and took it under advisement to unfortunately, our road agent wasn't present, they were at training, so, we'll take that under advisement, and as well as, requesting any, update on Easter Corners Road, which we, committee, said that we're still on track with where we're with that process, and it'll be taken care of, as soon as the weather breaks and we can get everything cleaned up. And one other, Ms. Benoit, had questions on Pinnacle Road and plowing, and actually it was the frequency of it, and we just kind of explained to her that, we were a little short-handed for a period, we have our road agent back in place, and with a new road agent, and we will be going through a lot of procedures, policies of how things are done, and we will address that and come up with new plans, or if they're good, then we'll maintain it. That was pretty much it. And one other thing is that they're starting the work on our final boiler replacement for the fire department.
Good. And that's the last one.
That's the last one. Yeah.
Right.
That's all I, you can do report.
So we're to privilege of the floor. Privilege of the floor is to, comment on any of the items that's on the agenda tonight. Is there anyone who wants to step up on any item on the agenda? Just state your name and the rest of it.
Daniel Werman, Beaver Lake Road, 139. Beaver Brook Road. I used to live on Beaver Lake Road, yeah. You had mentioned something about the road conditions and stuff, and I got a question. We live right at the end of the asphalt on Beaver Brook Road. And for 3 months out of the year, we can't get our garbage dumpster emptied because they're over the 6-ton limit. And 2 years ago, they would call and get permission, and I guess it was depending on how cold the frost was and stuff, they would allow them or not allow them to come in. But every day, there's fuel trucks, oil trucks, buses, there's heavier trucks coming in every day and using that road. I was just wondering if we could make exceptions for utilities like that, because it is a health concern. Because it's 3 months, I mean, we fill it up every month.
Dan, just give me a call. Call me tomorrow, we'll talk about it, because, I don't know what's happened in the past, but that doesn't seem right, so.
Okay.
Just give me a call.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. So, action item is, move to approve the consent agenda, which are the minutes of March 17th, regular public meeting minutes, and March 17th, non-public meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move. Second?
Second, any other conversation, changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we can go to committee members. First thing we have to do is a correction. On March 17th, we voted on Janet Lucas and Bill Copeland to renew their terms on the Conservation Commission. Unfortunately, there was I didn't recognize the conflict of interest, and we have to have a revote. So I would like to have a nomination of Janet and Lucas and Bill Copeland to renew their terms of the Conservation Commission. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second?
Any conversation? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Abstain. Aye, and there's one abstention. Okay, that takes care of that. So, Cheryl Howard is now the ex officio on the Conservation Commission. We have one vacancy, for the alternate position, because Ian Aldrich, has resigned. But we also, have a note from Rebecca Steve that she would like to also renew her term on the Conservation Commission. So I need a motion to approve Rebecca Steve's to continue on the Conservation Commission. So moved.
Second?
Any conversation? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I think, we need to advertise for an alternate. Okay. Next is, on planning board, Laura Chapman has resigned. Cheryl Howard is now, the ex officio. So we have 2 vacancies in alternate. Oh, Oh, yeah, yeah. right, so I did have that written somewhere. How do you say your last name? That's check. Okay. So Cynthia was an alternate, and she has written to us that since Cheryl has now slipped into ex officio, that opens up a seat. And she is requesting that she be approved to fill that seat.
I nominate you to do.
Full-fledged member.
Yep.
What?
Second.
Second? Any conversation? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. So, but that still leaves one alternate, right? So we'll advertise for that. On zoning board, Laura Chapman has resigned, so we'll need to advertise for an alternate. On capital improvements plan committee, since Laura Chapman is continuing on that committee, but she also served as the ex officio for planning board. So, she's not on the planning board anymore, so it's gonna be brought to the planning board tomorrow evening to, make a nomination or recommendation for someone to sit on CIP as their ex officio. Okay? And then on the climate advisory committee, Bill Sebastian has sent in his request to renew his term serving on that committee. Do I have a nomination motion to nominate Bill for that?
I nominate.
Second. Any conversation? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that's it. I think once we get those alternates in the planning board official, we will have it completed.
And what we'll do is Michelle will get it written up, we'll take a look at it, she and I will look at the terms and everything else. We'll see what else needs to be posted, and we'll get that out there advertised, and then we'll bring the fresh list, the newest list at the next meeting, so you can take a review of it.
Right. But we've made good headway, and we appreciate all the volunteerism. So the next item is community room AV approval, audio visual.
I have put this on twice as just, a informational for all of you to read. This is the community room audio, the big projector up there, the screen, and the computer system. You all installed this back in 2013, as part of the emergency management piece, so this is used, it's supposed to be used mainly for, emergency situations, like, you know, if there's a flood or fire, or some sort of, issue. The projector died, big system there, and the company that does these systems, they said that there's no way to replace it, it's now over a decade old, or fix it, I should say. I know we've had multiple issues with that as well. I asked them to come in and do a review to see if we could fix any of the pieces. They said that it's all out of date, I think like anything computerized nowadays, like within a year, it seems to all go out. But they have, given us a quote. I went and tried finding other companies, and could not find one. I even went to Lakes Region to see if they could help me, with finding a company. Most of them are out of state. This is the only in-state one, I guess, that there is. It's called CCS. To do everything, which is a video equipment system switcher, display equipment projector, control equipment, flat panel system controller, miscellaneous equipment, power protection, distribution, materials, and of course labor, comes to $14,550. That's under the $15,000 required to go to you, but this is not in the budget, so it would be something that would have to be taken out of the municipal fund. So I'm coming to you to ask if you would like me to go forward with this. Right now, we're using the projector that the fire department has for their own use, for their own trainings and things. But I'm thinking that you might want to do this only because you put this in, you installed this, like I said, in 2013 as your emergency management communications piece, so it's really up to you.
May I ask just one question? The feedback that I have gotten, and also the communications that I have had to participate on a Zoom meeting, the audio pickup is problematic for people. So if there's some way that we can be assured and a better audio pickup and transmission for those who are participating on the Zoom, that would be my only observation.
I can talk to them and find out. And I don't know if it was the owl part of it when you guys put it in?
No.
Okay, so that's you guys, okay, so, okay. It might not be something that's part of this, it might be something that's a different piece, and, I might have to talk to, Lakes Region, see if they can help us with that. I mean, the only other thing I can think of would be, I've been in a lot of board meetings where they have individual, like that one there, and if there was maybe more of those that we can get to put out, that might help.
Yeah, all right. Any other questions for Kate? So this would come out of the, capital reserve fund, municipal fund. We have a balance there of 200,000 plus currently. We know this projector, the one up there on the ceiling, has been down
It's been 3 months.
3 to 4 months, and we know we need to replace it. Because Zoom has become part of meetings, and we want to continue with that. So, do I have a motion to approve the proposal from CCS for the replacement of the audio visual system, $14,513. So moved. Second?
Second.
Right, any other conversation? All those in favor? Aye.
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 That sounded like a whisper. turning over to you, Kate, to talk about the EMD, emergency management. EMD.
The emergency management, director appointment and the deputy emergency management director vacancy. I'm asking the board, I think it might be a good idea for us to put them out like we do for our other positions, especially like we did for health officer this time as well, internally, and then out, like we do the public with the, volunteer, and anybody can, of course, put in for it and then see what we get for applications and things. I just think that it's good to include everybody, and of course, it means a lot of work, I think. We did just receive a grant from the state that they have to help redo our emergency management manual. I believe there's only been one meeting so far. I was not a part of that meeting, but that's gonna be worked on. Of course, everything is, very confidential and private, which is emergency management systems. Meetings need to be attended, and that person is also, if there is an emergency, that's the go-to person that gets contacted, and the same thing with the deputy. So we're looking for 2 people that have time and interest to do that work.
So you propose to post it internally first?
Internally and through what Michelle usually does with the committees as well, and just see if there's anyone interested, and people who have been doing it can also put in for it and everything else. I don't know if there is as much of an internal yen to do it, so I think it would be good to see if we have volunteers.
Conversations, is that okay with you?
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense.
Okay, Carl? Yeah. We approve what you'd like to do. Okay, a request from the town clerk. She's in the process of, fulfilling the grant for the voting machines and stuff. The annual meeting warrant article 11, which was to establish a voting machine fund for the purchase of the new voting machines and voting materials, passed 88 to 24. The passage of the article also approved raising and appropriating $24,300 to establish the fund, so that will be reimbursed by a grant. Today, in order to get the grant funding going and to get the machines ordered, the selectmen need to make a motion that the selectmen approve moving forward with the purchase of the new Dominion Image Cast Precinct 2 voting machine from LHS and poll books. Those are the tablets that you check in with.
So move.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
So each of the selectmen received a full report for the annual report from the auditors. Upon your review, did you have any comments or questions on the audit? Basically, it was a good audit. It's no significant findings, which is what we like.
Exactly.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
There was one, issue that was brought up, and I did try to work on it. So one of the issues they said was how we were doing our district billing for the precinct type thing, how they get their, money back to pay their portion of their taxes. Our auditors felt that, it wasn't as neat as it could be. I guess we're the only ones there's 2 different ways you can do it, and we're the only ones they had that were doing it, in a collections way instead of a commitments way. And they wanted us to move forward with trying to do it as a commitment. I did meet with CBP and, WVE about it, and their representatives. CBP was fine with it, WVE had a lot of questions. After going back and forth with, Ron Beard, who's their general manager of Waterville Estates, they made it very clear that they did not want to change the process that they were doing. So I have let the auditors know, that even though they recommended that we change the process, the precincts have to both be on board, and I don't want to change the process for one and not the other, because it's gonna make it very confusing in-house. So I've let CBP know that we won't be making that change. The auditor does know as well, so we will stay doing the way that we're doing it. The auditor doesn't love it. It's not to them as clean as it should be, but, it's a little receptive.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
So we're looking, the town of Thornton, for one, there are several other towns where the Board of Selectmen meet once a month in the summer months. Those meetings may be longer, you know, maybe 3 hours, since we would only be meeting once a month. You have a proposed schedule in front of you, which we would meet June 16th, July 14th, and August 11th. Any conversation on that? Carl?
I'm good.
You good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so can I have a motion for the summer schedule beginning June 2025?
I made that motion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And one other, item is on May 5th, which is a board meeting. We will not have a town administrator, she'll be away on vacation. And, to this point, there wouldn't be much on the agenda except to approve minutes. So I'm making the recommendation that we cancel the May 5th meeting. Any conversation?
My other question that I have is if something does come up, what would you like me to do? Do you want to hold the May 5th meeting after all, or would you like me to schedule a meeting for when I come back, which would be the 12th, which would be 1 week ahead of the next meeting? I'm just, if something important comes up, what would you, like, at this point, we're okay.
Well, let's take it if it comes up.
Okay.
Give the chair a call and, we'll go from there. So, do I have a motion to cancel that May 5th? So moved. Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Privilege of the floor, is there any privilege of the floor on any of the items that was on our agenda this evening?
Again, Beaver Brook Road. Katie is right, I'm an electronic technician, and there are various things, like this microphone here. Some of them, they can run like over the ceiling tiles and they hang.
Yep.
They're very effective, and they're not that expensive. They can just add that while they're doing it, and they pick up every sound. So if you ask them about it, there's like at least 4 or 5 different ways I know of that they can do it, and
Yeah,
very
I've seen-
cost effective.
I've seen the ones that are the long microphones as well, and then they have those flat ones, and then I've seen tiny, tiny ones too, but I can definitely check.
Yeah, there's a bunch. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else?
Robert Bain, 27 Spring Hill. Carl, are you still currently the EMD?
Yes,
Do you have any interest in still doing that?
yes.
All right.
I'll submit something when she puts it up.
Oh, okay. I was just curious like that because I think you do a great job at it and like to see you continue at it.
Thank you. Appreciate
You're welcome.
Okay, anything else? With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved.